Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm Sherri Horner, your host at healthfitnessbroadcast.com. Today, my guest is Master Instructor for Spinning, Patrick Sims, and he joins us from Louisville, Kentucky. Welcome to the show, Patrick.
Hi, how are you?
Great. It's great to have you. I haven't talked about spinning. I talked about spinning quite a few years ago, so I haven't done it for a long time. I'm excited about the topic because I know it gets people fired up and motivated, and it gets them healthy. So
Yeah.
let's get to it. I have a few questions. I just want to mention that you've been a master instructor for how many years now?
Well, I've only been a master instructor since 2014.
Okay,
I joined the team last year.
but
And
you've
I've been,
been spinning for.
yeah, teaching spinning since 2006.
Mhm. Yeah, so you got a lot of great information. First of all, the spinning, because a lot of people know what it is, especially if you're a fitness enthusiast, but the difference between spinning, cycling, can you explain the whole spinning trademark?
Sure. The spinning program is the original indoor cycling program, and it was piloted in 1994, and it really was the first, and we are still the preeminent indoor cycling program in the world. We're on 6 out of 7 continents. We have instructors certified all over the world. We have a massive master instructor body that I'm proud to be a part of. We pride ourselves on hitting kind of every single element from instructor education to equipment sales. We have our own bikes, we have our own instructor training, to massive global events, which we can talk about later. I've recently attended one, it was super cool. Doing another one this weekend. And so we kind of soup to nuts a functional training program for indoor cycling that focuses on a few things. First of all, we focus on exercise science, and I think that this is one thing that really sets us apart from some indoor cycling programs that may not be so strong on physiology. And then another thing is that we always have cultivated the mind-body connection, and that's something that we still focus on. The spinning program began in 1994. And so last year, we celebrated our 20-year anniversary of being number one in the industry. And so our new slogan is, "We started it all, and we're just getting started."
Oh, that's
Uh,
great. I like that.
yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. I feel, it's so funny. I feel like I've been in this for a long time, and some people have been doing it for a lot longer than I have. But it always still feels new.
Mhm.
It always still feels new. And that, I think, is the real test of a true quality fitness product, is one that withstands the test of time, because I'm sure you've seen they come and they go.
Mhm.
And only the true powerful programs stick around as long as we have.
Right, and spinning never gets boring. Although a lot of people may think, if you've never done a spinning class, you're on a bike. It's like, how exciting
Yeah,
can that be? But it
yeah.
is because of the instructor. So I want to talk. Is there any? I want to ask you if there's any other things you can tell us that set the spinning program apart from others, from what other than what you just said.
Sure. So I think that our emphasis on quality education has always been something that's really important, and it will always be paramount to the program, is saying that before you get up in front of a group of people to whom you are responsible for their safety, for their success, and for their enjoyment, you need to know about the body. You need to know about the bike. You need to know how to set it up, how it's built, how to accommodate particular maybe orthopedic conditions, how to accommodate pregnancy, to deal with whatever walk of life comes into your class, because you will have them all. So not only do we really focus on the corporeal knowledge of what to do with a body, but also what to do with the mind. It's what we call the marriage of science and spirit. So then we spend a lot of time talking about cultivating the mind-body connection, coaching skills, picking powerful music, not just fun top 40 music. And I think that that's something that sets our program apart, is the willingness and encouragement on the part of our instructors to go out and challenge people to feel something from music rather than to go and just right on the beat. And so we lack an emphasis necessarily on teaching to the beat. We find that music should be the icing on the cake, and that the instructor is the cake. They have the knowledge and they have the skills as a coach to cultivate an amazing experience, and that the music just kind of sets all of this around it, kind of sets the ambiance.
Hmm. Now, the coach, you're so right on with that. And I didn't realize how much that the spinning program uh, teachers teach the coaches teach the teachers to be that involved. And I really thought it was an individual thing, but I know there was so much of that education behind that
Yeah.
because every spinning instructor that I've seen or I've been involved with, they definitely take the time. A new person comes in, they're right there to get them
Yes.
set up, make them feel comfortable. And I always thought, wow, this is a great great coach here, a great spinning instructor.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I
And
didn't realize that
hopefully you can tell a spinning instructor the moment that you walk into a class. An official spinning instructor feels confident in approaching a new person or someone who may not be new about setting up their bike from moment one. They're there early, they're dressed professionally, they look put together, they've prepared their what we call their profile, they've prepared the ride, they've got music that fits, accompanies, and complements the ride to paint a beautiful experience. They're articulate, they're confident. I think it recently I had someone come to in one of my classes, and she has been participating in indoor cycling classes for years. And she came up to me and she said, "You must be a spinning instructor." And I said,
that.
"Well, yes, we're a spinning facility." And she's like, "But you follow the program. I can tell." And I love that because the moment you walk in, you should know. And so when you asked what sets our program apart from the others, there's things you can put down on paper, but I think that the feeling that you get from our instructors and our program should be very different, and it should speak for itself. I mean, from the very first moment.
Mhm. Yeah, Patrick has master's degree in clinical exercise physiology and a bachelor's degree in kinesiology. So he knows what he's talking about. He doesn't just jump on a bike and try to give you a tough workout, make you sweat and go home feeling exhausted. I want to ask a little bit about stretching before and after, and if there's any knee injuries or issues that could come about if you're doing a lot of spinning classes.
Sure. So I'll talk about the risk of injury first. One of the things, we have a few goals when someone goes through what we call the spinning instructor training, which is your initial introduction into our program. It's our 9-hour training that you attend. One of the major objectives of the spinning instructor training is not only becoming acquainted with bike setup, but becoming proficient at bike setup. And so knee injury, if you think about the bike, it can be quite beneficial for people who have orthopedic concerns because it only allows you to move through a certain range of motion, right? But if someone is set up poorly on the bike or not set up at all, then their range of motion might be put repetition upon repetition in a bad space. So if you have a spinning instructor, they're going to not only feel confident to come up to you and set you up on the bike so that you're biomechanically working efficiently and effectively in a safe, accessible joint range for knee, hip, ankle, shoulder, wrist, but also that you're going to make sure that the person feels comfortable. And so injury, I think, on the bike is a big concern if your bike setup is poor. Um, Other than that, we have a set true system that's been proven for years. And we know that if you set people up well, they're comfortable and they're safe. With that said, you asked about kind of a cool down. We have a couple of objectives for the moment. There's kind of the big end of the class and then the cool down, right? And in the cool down, a lot of people have a lot of different things that they feel like they either need to do or want to do. And a couple of those things are first, dropping the heart rate, decreasing body temperature, and then oftentimes including a stretch at the end. And so what we like to make sure when we're training our instructors is that you're visiting the range of motion for all of the major muscle groups that may have been affected on the bike. So thinking beyond just quadriceps, hamstrings, glutes, calves, all the obvious ones where people walk out and they go, "Whoa, my legs are trashed," or I felt quite a lot of work in my lower body, but realizing that you may need to visit the range of motion for lower back, for the shoulder joint, for the cervical spine, for the wrist. So ideally, a spinning instructor, when they plan their profile, they leave themselves 10 minutes at the end of a class to provide a very thorough cool down to hit all of the major muscle groups in their stretch or whatever it is that they do. If they do some isometric work, and I think that this is another thing that will set a spinning instructor apart, maybe from someone who doesn't have a professional certification, is that in my experience, I see a lot of people who haven't been educated on the benefits of what happens at the end of the workout. They tend to run their more high intensity work all the way up to the very last minute. Let's say a class is an hour long. They're taking them up to minute 59, and then they say, okay, class is over, have a great day, and leave people to their own devices. I think a spinning instructor understands that it is their due diligence to address the final. I always give 10 minutes for a thorough cool down and stretch at the end of class. And I think that this allows students to leave, especially with the perspective of kind of this huge release. You know, you have this huge endorphin release, but then you have kind of this calming parasympathetic experience at the end of class where you walk out and you go, that was the total package. And
Yes,
you're like,
yes.
when can I do it again?
And that's the yoga instructor from you speaking. So we'll talk
Yeah.
about that a little bit later. But what about, can we talk holistically? How spinning provides a holistic experience. And you just mentioned some of the things like getting that endorphin rush and then getting that cool down. Anything else you can add to that?
Sure. So if you think about, when we say the word holistic, I think it's important to, kind of question what is it that we're really getting at. And so for me, holistic, if, in the 80s, they came out with what they called the wellness wheel, which is physical wellness, financial wellness, emotional wellness, social wellness, environmental wellness, and things like that. And so I think that if you take that perspective, the spinning program honestly can provide you all of these things as well. But let's take just kind of the physical piece for now. And so if we're thinking holistically in terms of visiting everything somebody needs for exercise, obviously we cover the cardiovascular portion. And I think that that's something that everyone understands is that through the spinning program, you're going to improve your cardiovascular function. You're going to improve your fat metabolism. You're going to improve your cardiac recovery time through interval training. You're going to improve your aerobic base through endurance riding. You're going to improve your resistance to fatigue through strength building. And I think all of these things resonate with athletes, but maybe somebody off the street says, well, I don't really know what all that means, and I just want a good workout. So we also provide high caloric burn in an hour because of high intensity, or as much high intensity as you like. It's really up to you. And then, but also, one thing that we've taken great care to address, because, some naysayers of the program once upon a time said, well, it's just cardiovascular exercise. What about everything else? And we said, well, there's no reason that you can't marry cardiovascular exercise to something holistic. And that's where we have what we call our cross format classes, spin yoga, spin flex, spin core, where you build a dual format class where someone spends 30 minutes on the yoga mat in our spin yoga continuing education course, which is a 4-hour credit course that you can take with us. It's all about building a program to marry yoga and spinning together. And so you spend 20, 30 minutes on the mat working on asana, the physical practice of yoga, and then you climb on the bike. Spin flex is a practice about working the bike and then hopping off and using different implements and instruments, body bars, dumbbells, barbells, kettlebells, whatever you've got. Could be a full fitness studio that has every toy in the world, or you could only have a pair of dumbbells, and working on building a powerful program that addresses muscular strength and endurance as well as cardiovascular endurance. And so for that reason, I think that, yes, it is a holistic program. But if you think about it, a lot of cardiovascular exercise programs aren't holistic. They either focus on all high intensity or they focus on all low intensity, but they don't cover the breadth. And that's what we call our energy zones. And the energy zones in the spinning program are our introduction to periodization, saying you need everything from the lowest of the low, what we call the recovery energy zone, kind of after a very hard workout the next day. What do I do? Do I sit on the couch? No, I get on the bike and I do some very easy aerobic metabolism. I increase my cardiac output and I recover, I recuperate, all the way up to what we call race day, which is kind of a special celebration, high intensity event to test people. They've been training for it, they're getting ready for it, and it's just 1 hour to give whatever you've got. And so it's holistic even within the realm of cardiovascular exercise. So, yeah, totally holistic. I love it.
So speaking of cardiovascular and the love of spinning, you have a great weight loss story. Now, at age 15, you were on blood pressure medicine because you were overweight and you lost weight. How did
Yeah.
spinning play a part? It played a big part in that.
Yes, spinning is how I lost weight. And, I feel I just have to say I feel so full circle to
Hmm.
be sitting here with you as a representative of the spinning program because it gave me so much. I mean, it really gave me my life. As my doctor said to me, you lose weight or you die, and that's your choice. And so now I don't know where I'd be if it weren't for the spinning program because it's how I lost all my weight. So it's possible that I would be dead.
Hmm.
It's possible that I would be dead.
I
Uh,
want to encourage everyone to try spinning because when you first went into a spinning class, it was because nothing else was available. Is that
Yeah, yeah.
how it happened?
I walked in the door. My doctor said you'd lose weight or you die, so you go do that. And I mean, what does a 15-year-old do with that piece of information? You say, okay, here we go. And so I joined a local club, kind of a big box gym. And I walked in the door. It was January, of course, and everything in the gym was taken. And I lacked knowledge, I lacked motivation, I lacked interest. So I walked in and I said, if I can't hop on an elliptical or a treadmill or a bike out here on the weight floor, what do I do? I don't know how to use all these weights, nor do those people look like me. And so I don't want to be around those people. Because there's a lot of that perception in the gym. It's like,
Intimidation.
they're not like me.
Right.
I can't exercise around them because they're so much better than me. They're thinner than me. They're prettier than me. And so I happened by the spinning studio and I looked in and there was a class about to start and I kind of went, oh, okay, well, here comes this hour sitting on a bike. And I wasn't intimidated. I just didn't think I would enjoy it. Of course, because I had never enjoyed any exercise, so why would I like this? Um, but I hopped on, and it was, I mean, the most powerful, impactful hour that I had ever had exercising in. And it was novel because I had never left a workout feeling that I wanted to go back. And I immediately looked at the schedule and I said, when is the next time that I can do this? And one of the things, it wasn't just great music and it wasn't just good coaching on the part of the spinning instructor. And it wasn't just about a bike. And it wasn't just about the ambiance, that they had this cool space and kind of these cool lights and neat flooring. And it wasn't all that. It was that when I looked around, there were people like me. Um, Heavy people, thin people, old people, young people, uh, athletes, non-athletes. And they were all participating in the same program, all experiencing the exact same workout, but every single person got what they needed. And I got what I needed on my level.
Nice.
And that was the first time that I ever felt welcome in any
Nice.
sort of exercise because my exposure up to that point had been physical education. And I'm sure you've spoken to people in the past about the state of physical education in the country. My only experience with exercise among other people was in PE. And, my singular goal had been don't be the last person to finish the mile in the gym because everyone's going to laugh at you like they always do.
Right.
And I had just never felt embraced before.
So you mentioned at your level. So I also want to mention to everyone, if you've never tried spinning, you can adjust the tension and right at your level. You don't have to keep up with the people who are veterans next to you that have been doing spinning for months or years. Um,
Sure. that's something we really try to cultivate rider specific language in our coaches so that when I ask someone, so on your bike, you have what we call your resistance knob, as you just mentioned, and this is to increase or decrease resistance. And this is how we create what we call the terrain of the road, the hills versus the flats, the higher intensity versus the lower intensity, the harder versus the softer. And everyone is in control of their resistance. So the instructor may ask you for more, they may cue you to add more, but you get to decide how much more is. Is more the tiniest little bit, or is more this massive increase? And that is something, that language and the way they paint that picture is something that really sets a certified spinning instructor apart, because a lot of other instructors, I don't think they cultivate that language. They just say, add more, it should be hard, it should always be harder, and then make it harder than that. Well, that kind of abandons the nuance of intensity, and it abandons the opportunity for someone to make the choice for themselves as to when hard has been reached, when hard is hard enough. And particularly, we coach heart rate training. And if you have a heart rate monitor, I can set you where you need to be, and then you can see that the littlest or biggest changes in resistance elicit the change that you need versus the person on the bike next to you, so that your intensity changes are personal to you. And because everyone deserves that. Everyone deserves to have it set for them.
Excellent. Now, Patrick is an ultra marathon runner and has competed in the Ironman several times.
Yeah, twice. Twice.
Nice. Excellent. Congratulations.
Thanks.
So, what's up for you in the future with spinning?
Um, so, somewhere along this journey of mine in losing weight, I kind of got in. Spinning is what launched me into endurance sports. So I went from obese, sick, comorbid person, textbook case, all the way up to like ultra endurance athlete. And it's so surreal, and I don't even believe my own story, So it's awesome. It's really awesome. But, I have to credit the spinning program. I have to credit the spinner bike, because no matter what the weather, no matter my mood, no matter my schedule, there's always time to stop by the gym and hop on the bike. When it comes to riding outside to get ready for Ironman, and you're thinking about, oh my gosh, well, I can't ride because it's 25 degrees and icy outside, go inside, ride. Oh, well, I don't want to go run because my head isn't in the right space and I just can't process all the traffic, and I can't process putting on all those layers and running in the rain. Go hop on the bike, clear out your head.
That's great. The bike is always there for you, Patrick.
It's always there. It's
Your
always there.
best friend, the bike.
Yeah, it is. And it's
Yeah.
funny, Lance Armstrong wrote the book, It's Not About the Bike, but it kind of is about the bike. So um, I um, I always say it kind of is about the bike, because if it weren't for this machine that allows us to do what we do, I think that the bike, we can't overlook how important it is, the machinery. Our bikes are made by Star Trek, and they're designed to fit like road bikes. And so I think that the time we've taken into putting in important geometric science of a bike is what makes our bikes so comfortable. And for that reason, people don't mind being on the bike for an hour. Because if you look at other programs that said, okay, well, spinning isn't accessible because you have to buy all these bikes. So let's create programs where you kind of hop around a lot on the weight floor. And I get it. It's certainly a lot cheaper to launch an aerobics program than it is to launch a program that requires you to invest in a lot of spinner bikes. But the challenge with this is that there are a lot of people for whom weight-bearing exercise is undoable, for whom high-impact exercise is undoable, who really need to start with something low-intensity, repetitive motion just to get moving. But to answer your question, what's next with me and what's next with the spinning program, we just launched what's called the Spin Power program. I don't know if you've heard about it. So we just launched a new bike called the Spinner Blade Ion.
Nice.
And the Spinner Blade Ion has a power tap built into the bike. And so for years, we've been coaching heart rate training. And power or wattage on the bike is kind of the next level in intensity monitoring. heart rate to a certain degree is dynamic and it can change based on your training status. It can change based on how hydrated you are. So there's certain amounts of play in heart rate, but power is power. Whether you feel motivated or not, power's the same. Whether good day, bad day, fit, tired, power is your power. And you can train people based on this number of how much energy are they using. And it's absolute, and it absolutely converts to calories perfectly. So people know exactly how many calories they burn with no doubt.
Great. That's great that they can walk away with that information because that keeps them
Yes.
motivated.
Yes, and one of the things about, and you and I will probably talk about this more in the future when we talk about what I do with metabolic testing, but one of the hardest things for people when they're trying to figure out how many calories they need to consume is that one of the hardest things is to know how many calories you burn in a workout. Um, and heart rate monitors provide a good estimation, but they don't provide a perfect estimation. And whereas like Spend Power program, how many watts you produce absolutely translates to how much energy you spend, bar none. Done.
That's
And so
exciting.
that'll be phenomenal. Plus, there's no guesswork anymore. Oh, is my heart rate high today because I've had so much caffeine, or is my heart rate low because I'm tired or overtrained, and things like that. So it's a phenomenal experience, and it's going to take the industry in a
That's
completely
exciting.
different direction.
When is that coming out? Do you know?
Launched.
Oh,
So
it already has. Okay,
so
fantastic.
we have
If you
yes,
want
we
to
have
know more about the spinning program, you go to spinning.com.
correct.
And if you want to see how to go about getting certified as a spinning instructor, you can find out information there about that too, I'm sure.
Yes,
And when you come back, because you've already promised me you'll come back. I haven't.
coming
I'm
back.
not going to ask again because you've already promised. It's written in stone.
Yes.
He's going to come back because Patrick is the well, first, you can contact him if you want to take a spinning class in Louisville.
Oh
and
yeah, come on
in
in. Come
Louisville.
on in.
And then he is the owner of Med Plus Metabolic Testing and Consultations. And so we're going to talk about that next time. Hopefully, I'll be there with you when we talk about it, and
Yes,
I'll get to experience that. So so
I would
excited!
love it.
I
What
will
we'll
have his
do,
contact information in the description box. So if you want to contact Patrick, ask him anything about spinning or anything else, I'm sure he'll be glad to answer your questions. So,
yeah, next time what we'll do if we can get you to come in person, we'll see if we can't film you receiving a resting metabolic rate test. So
okay.
that and you can just go through the whole process. It'll be super
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be great. Yeah, we'll plan on that. So, okay, before we go, Patrick, uh, it's time to show share your shoe. I want to know what kind of shoe you wear and why you love it.
Okay. So the shoe that I have today is called the Ultra. The brand name is Ultra. The model is the Superior. And the cool thing about Ultra is that they're a running shoe company, but they do a couple things differently. So the owners and creators of Ultra, they used to work for other running companies, and they realized at some point they had this epiphany where they said, I feel like our company doesn't make shoes that are shaped like feet. And because a lot of shoes have very narrow toe boxes. And so what they did was that they created this shoe, which has what they call the foot shaped toe box. And so it has an immense breadth and width. And so you get a lot of toe splay. They have a really cool photo on their website where you can see an x-ray of somebody's foot in a traditional running shoe where the toes look like this versus in an ultra where the toes spread, which is really important for articulating power in the foot is the ability for each toe to press down rather than to press on each other. And you can see some people who have run in a traditional running shoe have literally changed the shape of their bones
Yes.
from smashing their toes in really narrow shoes. And I think a lot of runners, they're like, oh, I get black toenails, I get blisters, and that's just the way it is. Well, why don't you
Doesn't
get a
have to be that
shoe?
way.
Yes, why don't you get a shoe that doesn't hurt you?
Ultra, ultra?
Ultra,
Oh,
Altra. And the
ultra.
other thing that's
Ultra.
really cool about them is that the heel is always the same level as the toe. It's what they call zero drop. A lot of running shoes have a really built up heel, which makes people heel strike a lot. And so this is about changing the mechanics to work like a normal running gait.
I love it. I love it. Well, I have my running shoe, but I'm gonna look into the
Yeah,
ultra,
yeah.
ultra.
Ultra.
Yeah,
You'll love them.
definitely. Asics is my favorite running shoe right now, And besides the color and the look, it's perfect. Perfect for my feet. And when they're not on my feet, when they're not hugging my feet, I'm hugging them. I won't go as far as to kiss them because we talked about running shoes after a while.
Yeah,
But I will hug them. I do love my Asics. And I want to thank you so much, Patrick Sims, for all the information about the spinning program. And thanks in advance for coming back, or I'll come to you guys and we'll talk
absolutely.
about metabolic testing. So it's very
Yes.
exciting. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and thank you to everybody for watching.
And even after years, it comes back.